sorry. I am a few minutes late because I always get tripped up by Facebook and how it won't let me go live unless I click a little weird button. But here we are. I am so excited to be here. Apologies for being late. We are here to chat today about how to stop getting objections in sales conversations. And this is one of my favorite topics ever because let's get real, objections suck. We hate them and they can feel like a total gut punch for us. So what I'm going to talk to you guys about today is how you can actually get to a place of eliminating objections in sales conversations altogether and why it's a lot easier than you may think. So if you're hopping on live with me, say hi and let me know that you're here live. If you are watching on replay, same rules apply. Just drop replay in the chat so that we know you're here and we can pop in and say hi to you as well. So I'm going to give you guys just a second to jump on since I'm a couple of minutes late. But what I'm going to share with you today, honestly, is the biggest game changer I had in my business. If you haven't heard my story before, when I first started in business, I used to hear no on practically every sales call. I vividly tell the story over and over again that there was a point where I had booked 10 sales calls in a week and heard 10 forms of no on the calls. And that's why I'm so passionate about sharing why getting objections on your sales call doesn't have to be a part of our process and why we can actually eliminate those altogether with some very strategic ways that we handle this. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in, and you guys, as you're coming on, say hi. Let me know that you're here if you're watching on live or on replay. I'm going to just make sure, I can't see comments right now, so I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Give me just a second. Okay. Perfect. So here's what I want you to understand. You know that feeling, right? You're spending all this time maybe chatting in the DMs, prepping people for calls. You're getting ready for your own sales calls. And then you get on maybe these hour-long sales calls. You're chatting with people and you go through everything you do in complete detail, right? Only to end the call hearing some sort of objection. Maybe it's, oh, that's too expensive, or right now is not the right time, something like that. And it totally hits you, right? You're feeling like, oh my gosh, why should I even bother? It can feel so frustrating and it can feel like it's taking up a lot of your time. Now, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share with you how we've learned to nearly eliminate sales objections without creating more content, without sleazy tactics, without more calls. But I want to quickly introduce myself because we have a lot of new faces in this group. My name is Naz Echeverry. I'm a business growth strategist and 18-year marketing expert. And I help coaches, consultants, and healers be able to convert their cold leads, strangers, lurkers into paying premium clients in just 7 days using my Easy Yes method. So let's jump into it, okay? I want to talk to you guys about all the things the sales gurus have said before, right? If you've ever been in business for a certain period of time, you've probably heard gurus say something like one of these things, right? One is pushing on the pain points. To get more clients saying yes on calls or conversations, we need to push the pain point, right? If someone's objecting, it means that you haven't pushed on their pain enough. You haven't made them feel it in their gut. Drop an emoji in the chat if you've heard any of these ones that I'm going to share before, because I put out a post today and oh my gosh, I heard some horrible things that people have been taught. So one of them is that push the pain, right? Push it as hard as you can. Make people feel it so deeply that the only other option is to work with you because they're feeling so crappy, right? And it's built around this idea that if we make people feel bad enough, then they're going to want to work with us, which I don't know about you, isn't a good feeling. Like, I don't want to make people feel bad in order to work with me. Another one was never take no for an answer. Like, we shouldn't let people get off a call if they're saying no, because that just means that we haven't done enough. We haven't pushed hard enough. We haven't said enough to them in order to convince them to work with us. Or maybe it's to turn it on them and tell them it's their problem and that, you know, if they were really committed to their business and they really cared about things, they would say yes, right? We've done all of these horrible things, or we've been taught them that are like pressure them to find money, etc., etc. These are all things I've heard people talk about before when it comes to handling sales objections. And here's what I'm going to tell you, okay? You're going to hear something totally different here today. Sales are not transactional. I want you to hear that, okay? It's not like walking up to a cash register and someone saying, okay, here's my money, goodbye, and walking away. It's not a transaction, okay? I want you to understand that if we look at business and we look at when we support people in sales, that it's no longer this transaction, that it's a relational situation. So you take away the idea that sales are no longer transactional, they're relational. Okay, drop a 1 if you're understanding what I'm saying, because I'm going to go into more detail, but I want you to understand it's no longer transactional. It's no longer like, here you go, let's move on to the next thing. Especially when we're working in B2B, it's all about relationships. Okay, when we recognize that and see that it gets to be a mutually enjoyable experience for you and your client. Sales should feel good. Okay, this is a huge misconception that people think that sales always has to feel bad. It always has to be something that feels awkward, uncomfortable, that we dread, that I'm gonna have to convince someone to work with me. That is not what sales should look like. Sales should be this mutually enjoyable experience between you and your prospect. And the way we do that is through building relationships. When we realize that sales is relational and not transactional, you're no longer convincing people. You're no longer looking at it as that person sitting across from me is simply a dollar sign, a person that I need to hit my quota or hit my sales goals, and that's all we do. That's the problem with what is a lot of being taught around sales, is that objection handling, how we handle conversations in sales, is very transactional. If that person didn't work, cut them off, move to the next one. It's essentially this like numbers game. You just got to play with more numbers. You just got to push harder. You just got to get to see where it is you want. But when you realize that creates an environment of convincing, it means that you literally get into the habit of feeling like sales is a transactional event versus looking at it as a relationship, a relational situation for us. When we understand that sales is about helping people make decisions, it's about you holding their hands and supporting them to get from where they are to where you want them to be, which is making a decision. Okay? Drop a 2 if this is making sense so far. I want to make sure you guys understand. We want to, and I tell people all the time, marketing and sales is a guided decision-making process. How can we guide them from where they are, which is in a state of, I want to fix the problem. And we're going to talk about why it may be that you're not speaking to the people who already are saying, I have a problem, and how we get them to the other side. Okay? So I want you guys to see here, understand that, and I want you to understand that when we see that and we see that it's really just a relationship building process, it's going to take the pressure off. It's going to make sales as easy as you having a conversation with a good friend. That's what sales should feel like, okay? It should feel like, how do we make it where it's literally easy and enjoyable without having all the objections? Because when we look at it from that standpoint, it changes how we show up for sales, okay? So to understand how we actually can eliminate all the objections, what we need to be able to do is understand why objections actually happen in the first place. I think a lot of people go into it thinking it's just, oh, that person I didn't push hard enough, I'm not good enough at sales, or it's that person just didn't know what they wanted. We create all these ideas around why objections happen. But I want you to understand, a great way to define this, as HubSpot says, is a typical sales objection stems from a buyer's lack of a certain capacity. And I'm going to actually shift this a little bit and say that in general, sales objections come because of lack. Hey, Erica. Okay, it's whether there's 2 reasons this happened. The prospects are going to object to a sale when they don't believe that you have the resources, interest, need, or ability to buy from you at a given time. But if you look at it from a new standpoint of when we're saying this is relationship, meaning that we couldn't get into a marriage or a friendship and say it's all that person's fault, right? I look at sales as a lack from one of 2 ends, okay? When we recognize this, that we're guiding them and we're supporting them, just like in a marriage, you can't blame and point the finger at one person. So when we look at it, that lack falls into 2 categories, you and them, okay? Drop lack in the comments so I know that you guys are getting what I'm saying about the fact that we're talking lack. We're talking about the fact that objections stem from lack. There's 2 forms of lack though. Most sales is taught that the lack is in them. But the truth of the matter is, lack can show up in 2 spaces. It can be you and it can be them. Good, I'm going to give you guys a second to catch up. Okay, as I message my my VA, wonderful VA Julia, just a reminder. Okay, so it's happening because of 2 forms of lack. There's the lack from you, or there's the lack from them. When we recognize that there's 2 different ones, we can actually be able to see which one is showing up for us. Hey, Nalisha, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Nalisha, what a pretty name. So lack of what they need from you is usually showing up as they're saying right now isn't the right time, or I just can't afford it. I'm not sure if this is what I need right now. That is a lack of what they need from you. not from themselves, okay? These are signs that they are missing something from you in order to be able to make a decision. So, a reminder, we're talking about the fact that literally sales comes from a place of them making a guided decision-making process, which means there's going to be one of two things that happen, either a lack from you or a lack from them. When these kinds of things, and I gave you some typical objections, but if you guys want to drop your objections in here, I'll share with you which one falls into if it's a lack from you or a lack from them, or maybe both. So typical objections we hear are, right now isn't the right time. I just can't afford it. I'm not sure if this is what I need right now. Those show up, meaning that they're having a lack from you. Meaning they either lack trust, they lack urgency, or they lack the information they need to make that decision. That means that you haven't given them what they need to be able to make a decision. Okay, so let's talk about how that might show up and why we're getting into these lack states of from ourselves. It's either that one, they're comparing you to other solutions, cheaper solutions, right? They're sitting there and saying to themselves, oh, I don't think I can afford this, or right now this isn't what I need, because they're sitting to themselves and saying, well, I feel like I can compare this to another option. That other option could be them thinking I could do this on my own. I don't need support. Okay, because if they can't clearly see how you're going to support them in doing something that they couldn't either do on their own or do for cheaper somewhere else, then you're always going to be competing for space in their brain. Okay, so reasons why those things come up are they feel like they're comparing you to other options. They feel like there's a cheaper solution, even if that other cheaper solution is them doing it on their own. Another one is that they can't visualize it working for them. This is one of the biggest things I see people missing in sales processes. They have not made it where people can visualize that it would work for them. If you think about how people make decisions, a lot of how they make decisions is getting to a space of, will this work for me? If your audience cannot see how this would specifically work for them, then they are going to push back. They are going to say, right now is not the right time. I just can't afford it. I'm not sure if this is what I need right now. Okay? Because they can't visualize that this would be something that actually worked for them. So again, the first thing that may come up is that they're comparing you to other cheaper solutions. The second thing is that they can't see how it could work for them. I tell my clients, if they can't see it working for them, it means you haven't painted the possibilities well enough. It means you haven't been able to clearly help them visualize how this would work for them personally. Okay, it is your job as the business owner for you to be able to help them make a decision, which means you have to be able to help them make it, or be able to visualize how them applying this to their business would work for them. Because they can see it as, okay, well, it worked for other people, but if they can't see, okay, it could work for me, then they're never going to push the button. They're never going to say yes. They're never going to move to the next step. Okay, most of the reason why that comes up is because we haven't painted the possibilities enough. We haven't made it clear enough for them how this could work for them as well. It means we talked a lot about us. We've talked a lot about how it's worked for certain people, but they sat there and they said, well, that's them, not me. So you need to be able to really delineate for them why it works for a majority of people. What is it that makes it easy? So you need to be able to eliminate those fears for them. So you see how that's a lack of you, meaning they don't have something from you to be able to make a decision. They can't paint a possibility on their own because this isn't their business. They don't know it, right? So I want you guys to hear and understand that. I know that sometimes that hits hard, but I want to we're all about real talk over here. And I want you to understand that sales, having that lack is coming from you on this standpoint, okay? So again, recap. We talked about the fact that they feel like they can compare you to other cheaper solutions, or they can't visualize it for themselves. They can't see that your solution would actually work for them. Now, the other side is we talked about of a lack of what they need from them, okay? This also comes up. When people feel that fear coming in and they can't make a decision, that oftentimes can come from a lack of them. Now, it can be a comparison of both, but it can also just be a fact of lack of them, meaning that they haven't prioritized solving the problem at all, okay? If someone's coming in, yeah, Nalisha, I'm going to break it down. So and I'm going to tell you exactly what has to happen in order to do that. So if the lack is coming from them, meaning that they have a fear, they're not ready, they're not prioritizing solving the problem at all, this means that it's not your job to make it hurt more. It's not your job to push more. This means that we're not targeting appropriately. That means that the people who are coming in just simply need time. Okay? I know that goes against what everyone on the internet tries to teach, but there are some people who are not at the right stage to make a decision. So if someone is not at the right stage to make a decision, it is not my job to push them harder and faster and say, nope, you have to make the decision now. But what it does reflect on is I may be targeting the wrong people. I may be targeting people who are too new to the problem that they're not ready to solve it. Okay? Total game changer when we realize that if we speak to people who are too new to the problem and therefore cannot solve the problem, they're not ready, they're not prioritizing the fact that this is a problem that they want to solve right now, then we are most likely speaking to the wrong person. So drop wrong in the comments if you feel like this might be happening to you, because I will tell you personally, 5 or 6 years ago, this is what I felt like. I was like, oh my gosh, I just have a total, my whole Facebook group, all the people in my circle, they were all people who couldn't purchase from me. And I was like, I just feel like I'm attracting a bunch of people who don't see the value in what I bring. But the problem wasn't that, it was that I wasn't targeting, I wasn't speaking to people who actually prioritize solving the problem. They were too new to the problem. I see a lot of wrongs. Honestly, biggest thing I talk about, that we can actually be speaking to the person who's too new in the problem, doesn't prioritize solving it, and therefore we're always pushing. You got to understand that when we're speaking to people who are already prioritizing solving the problem, meaning they've already had it in their heads that this is a problem that they cannot wait on any longer, now we're pulling them. Now we're bringing them in. They're coming to us versus us pushing them. Okay? And this oftentimes shows up in our content, shows up in how we show up in our marketing, right? It shows up in us saying, this is the problem you have. This is why the problem is a big enough problem for you to solve. And here's how I solve it. You're trying to make them go through an entire decision-making process in one fell swoop, which doesn't happen. The reason my clients are able to attract people who say yes like in 48 hours is because they're targeting people who are already seeking out a solution, who understand they have a problem and want to solve the problem. So drop want in the comments. That's what I want. I want you to draw people into you who want to solve the problem. They don't need they don't need to be convinced that they want to solve the problem. They already know they do. They're seeking out a solution. Game changer in business. When we recognize, when we speak to the people who want to solve their problem, we're no longer convincing. We're no longer pushing, we're drawing people to us. People start coming here. So how do we actually eliminate this, right? Here's the thing I want you to understand. Sales does not happen on a sales call. I know this is a really hard concept. Sales do not happen on a sales call, okay? Here's what you need to understand. Most people have made up their mind before getting on a sales call, okay? Whether or not you know it or not, when someone's getting on a sales call, they've either said to themselves, I'm just getting on this call to gather information, and they've already preemptively made a decision that they probably don't want to move forward. So they're already preemptively having that in their brain, or they've made a decision that they do want to work with you. The difference is, how have we supported them prior to the sales call to make this decision? Are they at a space where they feel like if they didn't even chat with you tomorrow, would they be a yes or a no? And it's not a matter of eliminating sales calls. I love them, so don't say that. I just want you to understand 60% of decision-making process, just around 60%, happens before someone even contacts you. That means it's the job of marketing, it's the job of how you show up before someone gets to a sales call that actually helps them make most of their decision. Meaning it takes the pressure off a sales conversation, because if someone gets to the sales conversation, they've either one way or another made up most of their mind. Mind-blowing, right? Like, it shifts the whole dynamic of how we do business if we recognize that most people get on a call have already made some sort of decision. Whether or not that decision is a yes or no depends on what we've done to get them there. Okay? So I want you to tell me in the chat, do you feel like the people who are getting on the call with you are mostly have already made the decisions of yeses or nos? Have you supported them in understanding that, in whether or not it's a yes or no? And I'm going to tell you what my clients do to literally ensure that when they get on a call with someone, they're already a yes. Okay? And it's not because they're just magical unicorns who are amazing at sales calls. Yes, they're great at sales calls, but it's actually everything they've done leading up until that point, and why they're able to convert such a high percentage of their sales calls is because of what they've established before they've gotten on those. Okay, so drop yes or no so I know, are you someone who you feel like most of your audience is at a yes or a no before they get on the call? That's going to tell us a lot of where people are at in the process and where your problem is. Is it a marketing or is it a sales problem? Because a sales problem is very different than a marketing problem. Someone's getting on a call and they aren't preemptively set up to say yes, it's a marketing problem. Okay? But if someone's getting on a sales call and we just can't give them the right information that they need, they were already at a yes, but then they push back, it's a sales problem. But which one are we solving, right? So what my clients do to get in front of this and get to how they are pre-sold, their clients are already saying yes before they get on a sales call, is they give them the information they need to get there. Okay? They help them make a guided decision making that gets there. What we use is what we call one-touch content. Okay? A lot of times people are told that, oh my gosh, I have to create more and more content. The reason we've shortcutted the time it takes people to be able to say yes down to 2 to 7 days is because I use what's called one-touch content. The way one-touch content works is rather than us trying to give people a bunch of information over a period of time, we give them all the information they need in one-touch content, one piece of content. So imagine the fact that instead of you having to put out hundreds of pieces of content in hopes that people will get bite-sized pieces from each of them and be able to make a decision, that you could create one piece of content that clearly allows your audience, the right people who want to make decisions, who are seeking out solutions, allows them to gather the information they need out of one piece of content to make a decision. Okay? Because here's the truth. People who want to buy, people who are seeking out solutions, don't want to sit around and wait around. They don't want to go through hundreds of pieces of content. I hear a lot of people talk about the fact that, oh, I have all these lurkers and it took them a year. Those are because you're speaking to the wrong type of client, right? We're talking to the type of client who isn't ready to purchase, so they needed all that time. That's what lurkers look like. They're the people who are gathering their information to make decisions. But the people who are seeking out solutions, they want to make a decision quickly. So one-touch content is a huge part of our strategy where you could literally create one piece of content. Someone could land on that one piece of content and be able to make a decision because you've given them the exact information they need that supports them to get there. For us, it's outlining your proprietary methodology. So I have my clients create that, right? They create a proprietary methodology that allows them to clearly share what they do, how they do it, and why that's important within one piece of content. Okay? Drop one in the chat if this is making sense to you. So sales doesn't happen on a sales call. In your business, you need to ensure that you have, whether you have a marketing or a sales problem, which one are you addressing? If people are coming to a sales call, not preemptively ready to say yes, you have a marketing problem. People are getting on a sales call and they wanted to say yes, but something happened, it's a sales problem. So whether it's marketing or sales, okay? But what I want you to hear is that when we speak to the people who are prioritizing solving the problem, we need one-touch content that allows them to be able to make that decision. People want to make quick decisions. We need to set them up to be able to make those, okay? Number 2, can they visualize themselves in the solution, right? Selling is a psychology. When you recognize that selling is a psychology, it's a way for you to be able to understand that when people want to go from point A of trying to seek out a solution and not knowing what to do to point B, saying yes to a solution and moving to the other side, what we need to be able to do is understand our prospects' gaps. What is it that's the problem for them? What's the real problem for them? What is holding them back from getting to where they want to go? When we understand the gap in the process, we understand psychologically why they haven't made a decision and they haven't been able to solve their problem, we can fill for that gap. So it's not some push of objections. It's not us trying to be like, let me shove this down your throat. You don't have what you need to make decisions now. It's us being able to identify the gap and fill for the gap. Super easy. It becomes literally as simple as you being able to identify, here's the problem that they're having. And as an expert, you being able to say what the real problem to that is. And then you being able to say, here's how I fill for that problem. Here's how I create a solution to that problem in a way that nobody else can. So drop sales in the chat. I want to make sure this is making sense. I know I'm throwing a lot at you in a short period of time, but I want you to hear me on this. Okay? This is where it makes a game changer, is when we recognize and understand how people are doing this. So again, how we eliminate those objections are, 1, understanding sales doesn't happen on a sales call, creating that environment of a yes, recognizing marketing versus sales. Number 2 is, can they visualize themselves in the solution, understanding sales is psychology, that when we identify the gap and we can fill that gap. And number 3 is helping people make empowered decisions. I take a totally different stance on sales altogether because guess what? I wasn't a natural born salesperson. I didn't feel like I was raised to be great at sales. I was a marketing person. But what I realized is when we look at sales as empowered decision making, it becomes a lot easier. So the way we do this is, do your results speak for themselves? Can your results for how you support your clients stand on a pedestal all on its own? Have you been able to help your prospect, the person sitting across from you, be able to understand and have the information that they need to understand that how you get results for people and how that works for them? That helps them make an empowered decision. Okay? Because here's the deal. If we're pushing people, what ends up happening is we actually attract people who aren't going to be able to make good decisions, and therefore they're always going to feel like they're working harder to get to where they need to be. Versus when we let people make empowered decisions and they feel really freaking good about it, then they're going to feel really excited about saying yes to you, but also going to get better results working with you. Okay? Hopefully this is making sense. You guys got super quiet. I don't know if it's just because you're taking notes. So here's how I help my clients be able to do this. This is what I call my easy yes method. Okay? It breaks down into 3 core components. Number 1 is being able to create a space where people come to you. You're magnetizing people to you because they see the value in what you bring. Huge game changer. Recognizing that we can actually bring people to us and they can make quick decisions. So we do this by developing the messaging and positioning through proprietary methodology that allows you to become the only solution where people cannot compare you. Remember, we talked about if people can compare you, it's always going to be a push instead of a pull. What we do is we create proprietary methodology that allows you to be the only solution in their brain because you effectively understand the gap in the marketplace and you fill for that gap. So my clients who come to me don't think they have anything proprietary that they do. But what we do is we look for what their industry is doing, what people are frustrated with, and how we can solve for that gap. We create an innovative solution so that they can now 5 to 10x their prices and people are saying, oh my gosh, yes, sign me up. Where can I do this? Because we have a very systematic approach to how you show up in your marketing, how you can share your message, how people are now coming to you. Step 2 is that we use what's called a bingeable authority sales system. This is a sales system that runs in the background of your business so that when people come to meet you, brand new strangers, lurkers, cold leads come to see you, they can make a decision quickly because you supply them with the information needed in order to get there. We do this through a bingeable authority system. It's based on it. I use Netflix inspired marketing so that they can actually make a decision quickly within like 48 hours. Okay? This allows your audience to be able to say, oh my gosh, we had all the triggers and how they make decisions, speaking to the right audience, being able to help them support and make a decision and help them get to the other side so that when they get on a call with you, they've already preemptively said yes. They've already said, and I literally can show you screenshots where my clients get messages saying, I already know I want to work with you. I just need to get on a call and make the next step. Okay? That's the difference in the push versus the pull. And then the last piece is what we call results and retention. How can we help your clients get the best results at scale? Because I'm so tired of the marketing industry and how they're constantly talking about offers as irresistible in a marketing term, but not looking at it from the standpoint of, does it get your clients results at scale? Meaning if I bought you 100 new clients tomorrow, could you still get them the same results? Because that's what's going to allow you to retain them long term. Okay, that's what the Easy Yes method looks like, how I support my clients and how we've worked with over 400 of them to be able to get to the point where they no longer get objections. I have clients who literally say to me, Naz, everyone says yes. Everyone gets on a call and already says, oh my gosh, I'm ready to work with you. I get it. This is exactly what I've needed. Okay? If this is you and you're sitting here and you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, I want that, I want you to drop call in the comments. What we're going to do is we're going to reach out. We're going to set up what we call a blueprint call. Well, we're going to look at your business. We're going to look at what you're currently doing and how you bring in clients and where the gaps and opportunities are. And I'll share with you how the Easy Yes method could work for you. Okay? I'm not a pressure salesman. You can see here that I'm not here to push and I want you to be able to make an empowered decision. But if you're stuck and you're frustrated with trying to find the right way to do this and you want a way that actually works end to end of not only just being able to bring in the right clients, but be able to get those results for your clients, meaning that every single step of that is mapped out for you and you're able to confidently show up and have clients already saying yes before a sales call, I want you to drop a call or shoot me a message and we will set something up. Okay? But I hope that you guys have enjoyed this training and talking about how we can actually get away from getting objections in your sales conversations and why it gets to be fun and easy and mutually enjoyable for both of you when you recognize that sales happens way before sales calls and creates this way more incredible experience for everyone. But if you have any questions, pop in. Ashley will reach out and set something up with you. But I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll chat with you guys later.